Hey, says we're live. Love it. Glad to have you here along for the ride. So I want to talk a little bit about like mission statements, mission statements. And I know if you've worked in a company, if you've worked in a company of some kind, you have had a mission statement, right? A vision, mission statement is probably on the wall somewhere. And depending on the company and the culture, maybe you knew what it was and maybe you didn't. Maybe you cared, maybe you saw it, and maybe it's like, yeah, whatever. So what? Some stupid thing up there. But I wonder if you have a mission statement for your life. I don't know. What would happen if you had it? Now, my mission statement for my life used to be like, okay, make as much money as I could, have as much fun as I can, and whatever, right? And I had some other vague things in the background, but really it was focused on getting a good job, making a lot of money. I had some kids, I wanted to be a good dad and stuff like that, but I really didn't have a personal mission statement, a purpose. What I found that I didn't have that is days just sort of ran one after the other, and I didn't have a sense of accomplishing. Like my life was empty. Okay, each day was full, stuffed with things to do, work, and maybe places to go. And I was even active in my church and community. That happened, but I didn't have a sense of, I really want to be here. I really want to love this day. So it was hard to get up in the morning, hard to do the things that I had lined out that I thought I was supposed to do. And it was not very fulfilling. Well, now, later in life, I understand why. Because you and I, we're divine beings. You got a body, a skin bag, right? Okay, cool. But you also have a spirit, an essence, a being inside of you. And that being came from somewhere else. Okay. And it's what creates the energy in life. And you also brought gifts with you. You know that. You brought gifts and talents. Now, while you were here, maybe you went to school, maybe you learned to be an attorney or a musician or an artist, or maybe you're a landscaper, maybe whatever. So you learn some skills. You sell those skills in the marketplace and make some money, but that money making is just to provide food, clothing, shelter, and maybe a little fun, vacations and whatever. And we don't connect all this stuff together. And here's what I've learned. And I'll share it to you. It took me a long time. I'm 68. I'll be 69 in a month. And so in all these years, finally, I figured out, you know what? We're really here for a reason. We're not here just to cruise through the days and see how much fun we can have. We are here to love and serve each other. We're here to develop our skills and gifts. We're here to make a mark, to do something, not because we're saying, oh, yay, me, I need to have some legacy, but because that makes us more. It increases our substance. When I spend my days in service of others, doing good, adding good to the world, we become more substantive people. So the yearning that you feel, nearly everyone I talk to says, I want to help people, or some version of that sentence. Well, okay, that means we're built that way. My question always is, all right, what are you doing right now to add good to the world? What things are you intentionally doing? Now, all of us go through days, and when we see stuff, maybe we do it, help somebody pick up something or whatever. And those things are great. But I'm talking about a larger sort of guiding purpose. And the people then say to me, well, I don't know what my purpose is. Well, how about if you just pick one and start there? What I've found is that when you do something, it refines itself. Okay. And what I mean by that is you may not know exactly what your quote life purpose is. Mine's changed and refined a dozen or 20 times over the last 17 years, which is how long I've been working on this process. Because before I was 52, I wasn't really doing any of this with a real purpose in mind. Now I am, and it's been glorious and beautiful. So I'll share a little bit about my mission statement. What I've realized, and I'm sharing this with you, not because I'm trying to tell you what your mission needs to be, but I'll share what I've discovered. Okay. And each of these statements could be a whole episode in itself, talking about what it means and how I might do it. But what I do, I don't really care that you can know it, but I want you to think about you, because this is about you. You're divine, you're capable. I know that there are times you felt empty and without purpose and without direction. I know there are times you have yearned to make a difference, to make an income, impact, and to create a mark in the world and to add good, to do something. I know you felt like that. So have I. So the question is, what are you doing about it? So this is what I have decided, and I have realized, and this is through a lot of meditation and work. And if you want to know, if you want to know the process, there's a book for you. It's called Living with Purpose and Power. Living with Purpose and Power. What's that? Living with Purpose and Power. That's way better, at least I've discovered, and I offer it as a possibility. Living with purpose and power is way better than just living for the moment and see what happens. Living with purpose and power gets me up every day. I'm stoked. I love my life. I love my wife. I love everything about it. My kids are beautiful. Their grandkids are beautiful. They're glorious beings. And I can help them more or less depending on their feelings and attitudes, and also people around me. I have clients and people that buy my books and all that stuff. I wrote them all because I love you. I want to help. So here's my living with purpose and power sort of statements. Number one, I choose. I came to this world to do the will of my creator. Why? Because I'm stupid and I don't have a will of my own? No, I do have a will of my own, but I've chosen with my own will to discover what the will of the perfect divine is and do that. So I exercise my absolute sovereign choice, and how I exercise it is to find out and live as best I can into the will of the divine for my creation. Now, there's a reason I do that, because my experience has taught me that God is perfect, and I call it God. You can call it whatever you want. And so that will and perfection is the best I can do. And I found that I'm happier, I'm more excited, I'm more loving, I'm everything. I'm richer too, more wealthy when I spend my effort trying to find out what that is. So I came here. I came to this skin bag here in this world to do the will of my Father. Not because I had to, not because somebody said so, but because I choose it. I choose it after much agony and searching and discovery. Okay, cool. And what that means is I learn from my own experience and add good to the world. So I've learned through all my mistakes and failings and everything else, what is struggle and what is good. So I learned from my own experience and add good to the world. Now, there's a whole conversation we could have about that. One of the questions I love to ask people on the podcast and LA Talk Radio and the other television shows and the other things that I have is this: tell me what you do to add good to the world. And I really want to know. I dig into people and I say, tell me, what are you about? What do you do to add good to the world? Because, we breathe and we add carbon dioxide. I know that's a joke, but we do. And we add what? Misery, pain, struggle, bragging, putting people down? Or do we add lifting them up? Do we add blessing? Do we add good to the world? And is that an intentional thing? And that choice alone, I came to learn from my own experience and add good to the world. Now, I don't know about you, but I've made boatloads of mistakes. Some of them were places where I was inconsiderate and unkind, and some of them were just genuine, ignorant mistakes. And from those things, I have learned, and it has changed who I am. It's changed how I look at every single person. It's made me full of love and compassion, and it's brought me closer to that thing which I suggested we might be made for, which is to love and serve each other. And we see so much in the world that's not that. People going to jail because of wild lifestyles, and everybody thinks that the more money you have, the cooler you are. And we know that's not true, because behind the scenes, there's misery, death, suicide, drugs, abuse, addiction, and the list goes on. Truth, we are happiest when we love and serve each other. So I'm here to learn from my own experience and then add good to the world. Now, that's a broad statement, and how I do that is different. How you do it is different for every person. And that's one of the most fun things that I get to do in all my podcasts and my shows and all the things that I do, interviews that I do, is because I get to ask people how you add good to the world. And I was just listening to a recording this morning from a lady who's in one of the masterminds that I'm in. And she was talking about the way she adds good to the world. And it is working principally with women, but people who have a story in their lives where food has all the power over them. So they eat for emotional eating or, binge eating, all different kinds of eating things. And of course, she has her own powerful story about that. And her way is to learn from her own experience about that stuff and then add good to the world by offering education, leadership, and help for people where food is taking control of their lives. And that's a beautiful thing. And I marvel at the number of ways that people add good to the world. One of the ways I do that, using that same sort of metaphor, is I work with people who let fear run their lives. Fear of what others think, fear of being embarrassed, fear of making money, fear of failure, where fear is a constant chorus, worrying about what other people think, and then changing how we show up and what we say and what we do because we're worried about that. And you know what that does? That prevents me, you, any of us from being who we really could be, from being our authentic divine selves, from developing our gifts and giving them freely to the world. Because you know what? You want to make money? Be your authentic self and give it to the world. Now, it takes a little more work than that because in order to have a transaction, like, think of a farmer. A farmer doesn't just throw some seeds in a field and let them sit there. He's got to keep the weeds out, got to keep the water coming, got to harvest the stuff and bring it to the market. Otherwise, people don't get the benefit of their work. Well, your gifts and talents, the things you've learned, aren't going to benefit anybody if they just sit in you. You've got to figure out how to package them and present them and make them available in the marketplace and bring them to the people that are hungry for you. So what I do is I talk about fear. I talk about creating a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy. And I've developed programs to help you find your ultimate gift and, overcome fear of making videos, writing books, speaking, working wherever, even if you have a job, of doing a good job and getting promotions and making more money and being satisfied. So fear kills more dreams than anything else. So that is a way, and see, that's a place where I've learned from my own experience, and I can add good to the world because fear of not being good enough, fear of being found out, fear of people discovering my secrets, fear of failure, fear of embarrassment, all those fears got in my way, and 100 more names of that. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of knowing too much, fear of being exposed, fear of ridicule, and on and on and on. All those fears wrecked my life until they didn't. And that process was a lot of work. And so when I say one of the ways, the most important ways that I add good to the world is I help you eliminate fear. Eliminate fear. Why? So you can be everything you could be. And then I have processes and tools to help you discover your gifts and turn them into products and services if you want to. And sometimes products and services means you create an online business. And sometimes it means you just show up different at work. So you get promotions and you get more satisfaction. Mostly jobs don't give us satisfaction because they're just using one skill. The job world isn't really structured to use all of your gifts and talents. Like you get a pile of skills you've learned. You also have natural gift. You also have a whole bunch of things you've learned from your life experience: illness, betrayals, bankruptcies, failures, divorces, sadness, abuse, a pile of things that have taught you that you're resilient and powerful and capable. Well, that's really valuable, but most people don't end up using that. And the few that do, they get to make a real impact. And one of the big things that keeps people from doing that, fear of failure, fear of having no voice, fear of not being listened to, fear of being ignored, fear, what others are going to think, your family, the whole mess. Well, I've run that gamut. And so I'm here in the world, and I've got 7 statements. I'm only going to do one today, just because I don't want this to go on too long. But statement number 1 is, I, Kellan, am here in this world to learn from my own experience and then add good to the world by helping and serving and leading others through that minefield of fear. I love you. You're a beautiful, capable person. If there's something I can do to help you, reach out. My commitment this year is to reach 300 million people and help 300 million people create wealth and impact, make a difference they want to make by using their own gifts, talents, skills, and their life experience. Love you. We'll see you tomorrow.